All right, let's talk about Daniel Kahneman. He was the man who looked at the human mind and, in doing so, completely upended the entire field of economics. It's a fascinating story.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself holding on to a losing stock? Just hoping, praying, it'll bounce back, even when every logical part of your brain is screaming, sell!
Well, if you have, you're in good company.
But here's the crazy part. For decades, the entire field of economics was built on the idea that people just don't do that. The running theory was that we are all perfectly logical, calculating machines.
Yeah, that brings us to this big idea that dominated everything, the myth of the rational man. For generations, this was treated as the absolute bedrock of economics. They even had a name for it, the rational actor. This theory paints a picture of us as people who always consistently and calmly weigh all the pros and cons to get the absolute best deal for ourselves. But as it turns out, a psychologist, a total outsider, was about to show that our brains just don't work that way, not even close. And that outsider, our main character, is Daniel Kahneman. Now remember, he wasn't an economist, he was a psychologist. And that fresh perspective, that outsider's view, let him see what all the experts had been missing for years. Kahneman's life was really shaped by uncertainty right from the get-go. As a kid, he survived Nazi-occupied France, and that gave him this deep, first-hand understanding of risk and how people act under incredible pressure. This wasn't just some biographical factoid, it really became the driving question of his entire life's work. Then, in 1969, he met Amos Tversky, and together they formed what might be one of the greatest intellectual partnerships ever. And what these two did, well, they didn't just nudge the old economic theories, they completely rewrote the rulebook on how humans make choices. They were on a mission to prove that our irrationality isn't just random noise, it's actually predictable. So what was their big idea? It's that our brains, instead of using pure cold logic for every decision, rely on these little mental shortcuts. They called them heuristics. Now, these are super useful most of the time for making quick decisions, but they also leave us wide open to making the same kinds of mistakes over and over again. These are what we now call cognitive biases. Just how big was this idea? Well, look at this number. Their first big paper on this has been cited over 53,000 times. I mean, in the academic world, a few hundred citations means you're doing great. A few thousand is a huge deal. But over 53,000? That's not a paper. That's a bomb that just went off in the social sciences. But believe it or not, they were just warming up. All that research into our mental shortcuts was really just laying the foundation for their absolute masterpiece, prospect theory. And if you thought that first number was impressive, check this out. Their next paper, the one on prospect theory, has been cited more than 88,000 times. This wasn't just another idea. This was the one. This was the theory that completely changed the game and would eventually win him the Nobel Prize. Okay, so at the very heart of prospect theory is this incredibly powerful idea called loss aversion. And it's actually pretty simple. The pain of losing something feels way, way worse than the pleasure of gaining the exact same thing. That's why you hold on to that losing stock. The pain of admitting the loss is just too powerful. And here's a great way to picture it. The psychological sting you feel from losing $100 is roughly twice as strong as the good feeling you get from gaining $100. It's this imbalance, this simple asymmetry, that explains so much of our seemingly crazy financial behavior. And that leads to their other mind-blowing discovery, the framing effect. They did this famous experiment about a disease outbreak. When they framed the choice as 200 people will be saved, people played it safe. But when they described the exact same outcome as 400 people will die, people suddenly became huge risk takers. The math was identical, only the words changed. It's wild. So, years later, Kahneman took all of this incredible research and boiled it down for the rest of us in his smash hit book, Thinking Fast and Slow. He gave everyone a simple, brilliant way to understand the two warring voices inside our own heads. He called them System 1 and System 2. Think of System 1 as your gut reaction. It's fast, emotional, and always on. System 2, well, that's your conscious, logical mind. It's slow, it takes a lot of effort to use, and honestly, it's kind of lazy. All those predictable mistakes we make, they happen when we let our fast-acting System 1 handle a problem that really needs the slow, hard work of System 2. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? What's the real legacy here? It is honestly hard to overstate how much Kahneman's work changed our world, not just in dusty academic books, but in government and on Wall Street. And here it is, the ultimate proof. In 2002, Daniel Kahneman, a guy who had never, not once, taken an economics class, was awarded the Nobel Prize in economics. I mean, the very field he basically tore down and rebuilt was now giving him its highest possible honor. And his ideas didn't stay locked in an ivory tower. Governments all over the world started nudge units based on his work to help people make better choices. Financial firms totally rethought how they manage risk. He literally created the entire field of behavioral economics. And maybe most importantly, he made millions of us regular people aware of the hidden biases pulling the strings in our own minds.
In the end, Daniel Kahneman's greatest gift to us was showing the world that our irrationality isn't some weird bug in our programming. It's a feature. Our mistakes aren't random. They are systematic, they are predictable, and thanks to him, they can finally be understood. He basically gave us a map to our own minds, pointing out all the hidden traps. So the question he really leaves for all of us is, now that we know they're there, what are we going to do about it?